the face of college football with both game day and the primetime game on ESPN, called the national championship, obviously, called the semifinals. He's also the man who kicks off NFL weekends on Thursday night with Amazon Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, in front of the program, Peter's dad, Kirk Herbstreit.
Yay, Kirk.
How you doing, bub?
Boys, how we doing?
Dude, life is good, man. How about you? Life good?
What are you getting? What are they coming after you for now? After your vacation?
Well, we alluded.
Yeah.
Yeah, we alluded to the number one story in the world that I think a lot of these suits had no idea existed because they don't do research all day, all night on the internet. So then they try to kill us. Never said a name, said allegedly. Even showed empathy because that is an incredibly sad situation, but very real situation that was happening in the world in which we live. And then obviously Canada boos our national anthem like I do. What I got to do, and then all of a sudden that seems to be a fireable offense. Take this guy off all microphones because he's proud to be an American. Yeah, so, it's a good time. Fireable. Get him off there. This guy's going to put us into a permanent political problem. Shut up, dude. Like this guy. This guy's the worst. Anyways, nonetheless, it's great to be back. Love that we get to do this for a living. Feels like we get treated the same as everybody else that has a microphone and talks about sports. It is an honor to do it. With that being said, draft season, combine season, franchise tag season. What's the big conversation? Sam Darnold, let's start there. Obviously, you get a chance to watch him both through college. You watch his NFL career go the way it goes. You watched last year. How it ends is a bummer because everybody was waiting for that to happen with Sam Darnold, seemingly. Even though their team was 14-2, had a chance to be the number one seed in the NFC, had an offense that was dynamic all damn year. His last two games, he doesn't play his best football. The Vikings don't play their best ball, and everybody says that's who Sam Darnold is. We go from him making $50 million a year in this world to what's this going to look like for Sam? What are your thoughts on Sam Darnold, and what do you think about the rest of the quarterback market, Herbie?
Well, I think it starts with JJ. If JJ McCarthy's not there, then I think this is a totally different discussion. And I think when you have a year the way he enjoyed last year with KOC, who has an offensive system that's very quarterback friendly, he was able to flourish. Not to mention, obviously, the ability that was around him. But I think you talk to KOC, who to me is one of the great guys to talk to when it just comes to just talking ball with him. I mean, how much does he love JJ McCarthy after the year that Sam just had? In a time right now where, let's face it, if you don't have the guy, you have no shot at the postseason. He's got a guy, but I think it sounds like, based on if you're reading the tea leaves, that they're going to go back to J.J. McCarthy because they had such big visions of what he could become. And it's incredible. But I think that tells you, if that's the route they go, how much confidence and where this offense potentially can go, maybe where the franchise can go with J.J. McCarthy. So I think he's the wild card in all this. If he's not there, I think it's a no-brainer. You re-sign Sam. What do we have, about 6 or 7 teams right now that desperately need a quarterback?
Pittsburgh, Giants, Raiders, Browns,
Jets,
Titans, Jets.
I mean, would you throw the Saints in there? I mean, Derek Carr's got a few years, but they're going to eventually, unless they think Rattler's their guy. There are a bunch of teams out there that could use Sam Darnold, and there's never been a knock on Sam Darnold's ability to throw a football ever. I mean, that's his physical skill set. That's what makes the timing of this conversation interesting. A lot of people put so much into these workouts. Will Howard, it's like everything he did this year on the field, it's like he had a terrible workout, he's trash. It's like, geez. It's amazing how we look at this position and we forget that it's the ability to process, it's the intangibles, the leadership, decision-making. That is tenfold. Can you hit an outcut to a receiver you've never thrown to at the combine? And yet we put so much into what you do at the combine and what you do at a workout versus what you do when you wear shoulder pads and a helmet, and your ability to be able to read the coverage and make good decisions. So Darnold was able to show that last year. Up to that point, he's not been consistent in that in that skill set as being able to really break down a defense and have quick decisions and know where the ball needs to go and put it out there accurately. And he put that on display, and he's going to be the beneficiary of that. So that's exciting. That's great for him. And now we got to look at all these rookies and most of these quarterbacks, wouldn't you say, if they were coming out last year?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're up there at 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's been the narrative going into the combine, and then coming out, I don't think anybody has really changed anything. Cam Ward, obviously a superstar talent, great leader down there in Miami. I think a lot of people are hoping. Shedeur Sanders, obviously, is held in high regard. A lot of people talking a lot of things. There are some reports coming out that some people in meetings didn't feel like Shedeur was as invested or something like that. Shedeur also just always has Shedeur is always like this, it feels like. Mm-hmm. He's been in the spotlight since he's, junior high probably. So he has probably built up a callus to having him over-emotional. I think they probably know what's happening already. It feels like the Sanderses might already have a heads up on what's taking place with him. If not, he feels comfortable enough whenever he gets in a building to go. But yes, to your point, last year's draft class was absurd. And they ended up performing in an absurd fashion, which leads to JJ. Back to the Minnesota Vikings with JJ McCarthy. We've always said it feels like the coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell, can drop a play for if you can throw a football. It feels like you can be a quarterback for that particular team. JJ, we know, can spin it. Mm-hmm. We know JJ is an incredible leader. We know JJ is beloved by his teammates. But we have no idea if JJ can read NFL defenses. We have no idea what this entire thing is. So in my eyes, they probably want to vet for another year, just to see if JJ's ready or if he's a guy, because I don't know how much he was in the building. But is it going to be a guy that's worth as much as Sam Darnold? I'm not 100% sure. And what is Sam Darnold worth?
See, those are all fair. Those are all fair thoughts. I just give a lot of credit to KOC's ability to evaluate quarterbacks and ability to if he's willing to let go of Sam Darnold, if in fact that's the direction they go. Think about what Kirk Cousins did at his age in that offense. And now picture Kirk Cousins at 23 or 24 with mobility. We get around these guys in college.
JJ, got it.
What JJ McCarthy did for Michigan to get them over the hump in 21. He was the quarterback, and there was a great defense and a lot of great players on that team. But he gets them over the hump where they beat Ohio State in 21, gets them to the playoff where they get embarrassed by Georgia, come back that year they ended up losing to TCU in a game they should have won. You guys remember that one.
Yeah, and then TCU gets embarrassed.
Think of that 3-year run. Beat Ohio State, lose to Georgia. Beat Ohio State, get to the playoff, probably should have beat TCU, should have been in the national championship, come back the very next year and get it all done. That's on his back. That's him doing that. And you never know with quarterbacks, but watching these guys and watching the intangibles, putting KOC with JJ McCarthy and the talent on that roster, to me, the Vikings go to another level with JJ McCarthy and what I think he can do in that offense.
Get better with JJ, saying, hey, what are we talking about? And also save a lot of money to build up that roster, because you've already spent money on Justin Jefferson, another JJ, who's obviously phenomenal. He was on our show yesterday. Love that man.
Great.
I would like to let Kwesi, if you would like to trade him to Indy, I don't know if I have the power to make those decisions, but
how things going in Indy right now with you and the Colts and the boys? And
I shook Chris Ballard's hand. Talked to Chris Ballard down at the combine. I talked to Shane Steichen.
How'd that go?
I just told him I thought his locker room was crap. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that was his fault. I didn't think it was his fault. I just think the players that are in that locker room, he probably had faith would be professionals, and a lot of them aren't. So I don't put that on him, but kind of though. That is I feel like the players should show up for your team a lot more than they do, especially with everything we were hearing.
Well, when you play,
heard a lot.
Didn't happen.
Heard a lot of stuff
about not just the Colts. Obviously, heard a lot of stuff. That's this is not professional football.
All those guys came back. They had their reunion. If that type of guy, if they witnessed what was happening allegedly in this locker room that you're saying, how would that be handled? Would that be handled by Tony? Would that be handled by the players?
No, that's players. That is a lot of this shit is locker room stuff. Anytime you hear coaches go the team needs to be led by the locker room, the locker room needs to lead it. It's because the coach can say something obviously, but if the coach can't reach the person in the first meeting, here's the expectations, it's the players have to hold each other accountable, is my thoughts. Which is why I said the way I said, the things I was saying about the Colts is hey, this is on your locker room that this stuff is happening. And I don't know if they took that. You're probably getting a phone call from the Indianapolis Colts locker room right now.
listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, he's lying. But it's like the things we've heard, it's like it feels like there has to be some sort of leadership in that locker room going, hey, that ain't how we roll around here. And that's how it would have been. Like when I got in trouble, obviously everybody was happy that I was okay. But immediately I got a bunch of texts from all the OGs that are like, hey, you're blowing it, brother. Like this is your life. This is like everything, but also this is not how we operate over here. Like you need to clean your shit up. Like it was like a stern talking to almost.
But isn't that the case in team sports? Like the elite teams have what you're describing.
Yes. Exactly. And we have enough talent in Indianapolis. Like the talent is in abundance. We've paid so many people. There's a lot of experience. It's like, but in a locker room, just letting people get away with shit like that is.
Well, who are the guys potentially on that roster that can provide that?
Well, you can just look at the people that have been paid second contracts almost completely through it that have been here since the beginning. It's like, but one of them for 3 weeks was Patton at the beginning of this entire thing. And it's like, that sets a standard. And then it's like, it just continues to go. But with that being said, everything can change. Boys. They take a change. It's the year.
You guys still go to the games, right? You guys dialed in next year?
Okay, yeah, Herbie. All right, let's move along.
Don't know about that.
Let's move along. We heard it's not just the Colts, by the way, also at the Combine. Heard that it is I don't want to say an epidemic, but there's a lot of teams that are operating in ways that you don't think professional athletes should be operating. If you have a good culture right now, I think that is not as rare. That's
a great thing. Instead of us complain, because it's in college football, obviously, too, with NIL and the portal. So instead of saying, if I'm a franchise, if I'm a GM or I'm an owner, instead of complaining about what
wow.
Yeah.
Got it figured out.
Do a thumbs up. Do a thumbs up. Do a thumbs up. Do a thumbs up.
Double thumbs up.
Yeah, you've been dancing over there. You and AI kind of tag team in this interview. I appreciate that.
Bro, why did the fireworks go off?
Because we're celebrating you making a great point about team culture, it sounded like, coming out of this combine.
I'm saying if you're an owner or a GM and you're dealing with these players that are coming in, it's a very different deal than you're used to. To me, isn't that like look at Ohio State or look at Notre Dame or look at these teams that are trying to figure it out in college. Can't you separate yourself now by finding those guys? They're out there. So if I'm a GM, I'm not just going to Indy and I'm clicking the 40 and you got a 40-inch vertical. This is great. Like, aren't you trying to get to know these guys and trying to build a locker room instead of just worrying about having an all-star team with a bunch of physical freaks? Like, I think it's more of an opportunity to separate yourself by finding the right guy to kind of nip in the bud what you're describing sounds like it's going on in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, because everybody's going to make mistakes, obviously. That happens. These people are growing with money. They're in the spotlight. But it's like getting everybody to be going in the same direction and caring about team and just feeling as if you care. At least portray that you care, that you are winning.
Look at Justin Jefferson, who you talked to yesterday. It was a great interview.
Thank you.
I've watched him since this guy was like a 0-star, 1-star. He had older brothers that went to LSU. His brother was a quarterback, and he wasn't highly touted. And he really developed and made himself with that competitive spirit that he has, the player that he became at LSU with Jamar on one side, him on the other. I mean, it was ridiculous in 19 with Burrow throwing to him. And if you watch him at times at LSU, you could see, if you didn't know him, his wiring, and you didn't meet him, if he didn't get the ball early in a game, you could see, hey, is this guy selfish? Is he worried about himself? But once you get to know him and you watch him and listen to him talking yesterday, this guy's competitive spirit is unique, and he's dialed in. Does he get frustrated at times? Sure, but he's dialed in on the game plan. He knows what they're trying to do, and when it doesn't happen, he's not saying, give me the damn ball, like, we're winning, but I'm not getting my catches. This guy dialed in on winning the game and what it takes to win the game.
Let's execute. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing if things aren't going right because they're losing the game, he's on the sideline talking to guys about what we need to do to win and compete. See, that's gold right now to a franchise. And you just got to find them. You got to find those dudes that are willing to bring more than just their physical ability.
When we talked to Harbaugh and Ortiz, it was like, that's all we're looking for, basically. Talked to McVay yesterday. What are you looking for? Dogs. That's all we're looking for. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I assume they're going to bring in dogs. People that buy in. Bean at the Bills, all he's looking for, people that buy into the team and be dogs. It's like the teams who are good know. You know, it seems like the teams that are good now, in Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, they have literally all they care about is
Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions. Same
bingo.
Thing.
All these teams that are good seemingly have a very similar thing happening, and all the other teams have something else going on. Maybe
Ravens, I would throw in there.
Maybe Vrabes.
Ravens. Vrabes will bring it to New England.
Okay, on that note, Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Herbie, Vrabel, obviously getting hired to New England, basically the biggest hire, the first hire of the entire cycle. How do you feel about that? And then some of the other guys as well, Glenn to the Jets, Pete Carroll to the Raiders. Do you feel as though kind of that tough culture is coming back a little bit? And are you expecting the Patriots to win 14, 15 games like I am, or where are you at with them and Drake May?
Well, I think we all know Vrabes. We all know his wiring. I always wondered, even when he was at Tennessee, is he going to end up back in New England at some point and replace Bill Belichick? I think we all kind of thought, as he became more and more successful in Tennessee, that was going to be potentially something that could happen down the road. It's a natural fit. I'm sure, I haven't spoken to him lately, but I bet you, like any of us, because of the experience that he had in Tennessee, the way it went down, he had a chance to kind of regroup in Cleveland, kind of on the back burner, and a chance to really grow and continue to become a guy that can relate to what we're talking about. If anybody understands what we're talking about, it's Mike Vrabel. I mean, Vrabel's got it as a player. He had his experience in college and, of course, in the NFL when he got eventually to New England. And he understands the value in that. And he's very, very good at being able to relate to these guys still, see him put the pads on and hit dudes. I try not to be super biased towards Vrabel because I'm a huge fan of his. I've known him since he was 18 years old. But I have a ton of faith that who knows how many games are going to win.
Yeah, we're talking. He's packing both sides and the top, and then doing this, and then he'll race you and he'll beat you too. Like that is the.
And his wife Jen will whip your ass too. So I mean, the whole deal. I mean, they just.
Oh hell yeah!
Such an Ohio family, isn't it? This Vrabel family.
Now New England.
They are. They're taking Ohio.
Now they're New England family.
I'm excited to watch Vrabes up there. He was already, making the rounds. He did. There was a reading day, a national reading day. He went to a local school and was reading. Big applause, handshake. Obviously, he loves the community. He's probably done a lot with that community in the past.
Yep.
Remember, whenever he went into the Ring of Honor, the Hall of Fame, or whatever it is, he said, "Do not take this for granted. How special all this is." And that was basically, allegedly, the. Get this guy out of our building, says the Tennessee Titans people. So I think he's eager to get back there, eager to turn the franchise back around, eager to make him a contender again. And I think he loves the community. I think he loves the team. I think he loves everything about being
And remember, you don't want to be the guy that replaced, the guy that has to be the guy that steps in after Bill Belichick. You want to be the guy that replaced the guy.
Yeah, that's always a good place. That's a good place.
Yeah, I think the timing of this is outstanding. And New England obviously has to be Connor, they got to be thrilled with, bringing one of the boys back.
Oh, yeah.
To bring him back to the glory years.
Yeah, he's actually trying to find a Vrabel quote to put on the other bicep.
Yeah, yeah. That's coming. That might even be a tricep. I mean, it was just shocking. Like, as soon as Mayo gets fired immediately after that game, the first thought is, holy shit, they're really going to bring Vrabel back. And then for it to happen the way it does.
Yeah, it was talked about for 2-3 weeks there leading into the end of the season. Like, yo, Vrabel's coming back.
Yeah.
Vrabel's coming back. Vrabel's coming back.
And by the way, the Aaron Glenn, I've just spent a lot of time with him doing these Lions games and get some one-on-one time with him. And then hearing the story about how hey, I'm a former player. Like a lot of these guys now, they're former players. They want to step in and be like Dion or like Eddie George. They want to become the head coach. Aaron Glenn intentionally went basically to the bottom and worked himself all the way up and learned every aspect of the franchise to one day become in his mind, a qualified head coach. I just really respect, phenomenal player. Maybe could have had, hey, you know who I am? I'm a Pro Bowler, right? Let me start as a secondary coach. But he kind of worked his way up, paid his dues, was a big part of that Detroit ability to turn that franchise around, witnessed it. I'm excited to see what he can do. I mean, he's going to a black hole as far as trying to win.
Cursed.
That's where that was my next question. That was my next question. So you think the Jets organization can win, is what it sounds like. If everything you're saying with Aaron Glenn, everything he did in Detroit, it's like, okay, so wearing that jersey,
if they let him
win.
If you let him bring in what he learned, and the ownership is hands off, and you're just going to let this guy do his thing with the new front office, then I think they can.
Well, I do wonder what Brick's going to learn from Aaron Glenn. Because you talk about getting a chance to
teach him.
Experience everything. Yeah. Well, you're talking about Brick teach up AG on what it's like to be a Jet.
Aaron, final level. Get your master's from Brick.
I understand that Brick could probably share some information with Aaron Glenn, the new head coach. Brick Johnson's who we're talking about, Woody Johnson's son, who gave out game balls after the game. New York Times reported that. Not us. We're just telling you what was being said. We have not got that confirmed from asking in the locker room, strictly because we don't want to have the embarrassment of your organization to get the actual story of it. So, with that being said, Woody has allegedly come out and said, I have to learn to be a better owner as well. Brick wasn't around the locker room, I guess, the last few weeks. Crazy. So maybe the Jets are making a turn. Good luck to the Jets. Good luck to the Jets.
Good luck to them.
Because we're riding with you.
And the last one is Pete Carroll coming back. How great is that? I mean,
that's wonderful.
Honestly.
He got kicked out of Seattle, Herbie. He got kicked out. He said he went in there and fought for his job. Remember, he said like 4 hours or something. I competed for my job.
Yeah, but maybe, it's so hard to sustain, when I don't know how many years. How many years was he there? 10, 12? I can't remember how
14?
many years.
Yeah, like 15 maybe.
But you get to that 10-year mark, it's really hard to keep it going. So maybe Seattle just felt no matter how much they loved him, they needed to start fresh. I'm just glad to see. I thought maybe that was it for him. I'm glad to see he still has that fire. He's coming back, hires Chip Kelly as the OC. We all know about Max and what he brings on the defensive side. This is I think a franchise all of us want to kind of see get back to being the kind of franchise that they can be, and hopefully Pete Carroll can do it. Big problem is obviously who's going to end up being that quarterback.
Yeah, Tom Brady and ownership, and obviously Tom Brady very hands-on from what we're hearing. Tom Brady is very, very active. We're talking about everyday phone calls, long conversations.
But would you expect anything less?
No.
I mean, if he's going to put his money up there.
So I did expect less, actually, because like minority owners in the NFL, you don't really hear much from. Minority owners in the NFL, you only hear about whenever they become majority owners in other places. And the reason why a lot of people become minority owners in teams is to prove to the NFL that you're willing to get into their league. We understand what it is. And then hopefully you get an opportunity to become a majority owner somewhere else. Tepper was with the Steelers, Harris was somewhere. Like there is a lot of this that takes place. So you very rarely hear about minority owners getting their hands in the weeds.
He won 7 rings. I mean, bring him in.
I agree.
See, AI agrees.
AI does agree. But I don't think I expected it because nobody's ever done it. But then once you hear like, hey, Tom Brady's the one doing the interviews, it's like, that makes sense. Like if you have the capability for Tom Brady to do the interviews, you should do that. Hey, Tom Brady is like day to day keeping up on everything. It's like, that makes sense if you have Tom Brady doing all those things. So if you have a quarterback, you would assume Tom Brady will help in the entire process.
Tom Brady will help every aspect of any franchise. Let him in there, and how he works with Pete is interesting, right? And that whole dynamic.
Chip Kelly too, the offense coordinator. There's a lot, and they're saying Russell Wilson, maybe Justin Fields, maybe get a veteran quarterback in there that you can pay not as much as everybody else. And then maybe you still draft Shador, who obviously very tight with Tom Brady and Mark Davis, and they're in the top 10. So there's a lot on the table for the Las Vegas Raiders, but Tom Brady being hands-on, to your point, with 7 rings, good news for the Raiders. Hopefully the same for the Jets. Speaking of the Jets, they have a quarterback conversation happening as well. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Herbie, the first thing the Jets did was they basically, anyone who had any ties to Aaron Rodgers, they said, get the hell out of here. We're done. We're not doing this again. This is a great
No
experiment.
ultimatum, though.
Yeah, no ultimatum. Heard now in the coming or the last couple weeks that like the Giants, after they lost out on Matthew Stafford, they're full bore on wanting Rodgers. It seems like that's kind of the only option if he does want to play right away, barring what might happen elsewhere. Like we just saw, the Raiders aren't necessarily interested in him. In your opinion, what do you think Rodgers is going to do this next year?
I mean, you guys would know better than anybody based on you guys being around him as much as you are. I got to believe that now that he's fully healthy, in his mind, he can still execute and make plays and lead a team to victories and eventually get them into the postseason. If he feels that way, you got to think, we just went over the list of teams that are out there. Don't you think somebody is willing to take a chance and give him a shot to prove what he can be? At this stage of his career, after what happened with the injury, and what happened last year with the Jets, we just couldn't get going. I think people that are evaluating it, they're evaluating it on how much of that falls on him, how much of that falls on the franchise as a whole. But man, it's still Aaron Rodgers, and you watch quarterback play every week in this league, and you think a guy like Aaron Rodgers, what is he, 41 now? If he's healthy and he's 100% and he's all in, you got to think somebody out there is going to be willing to give him a shot and show what he can do. If it's
the Giants are already basically saying allegedly,
desire to do.
Allegedly, yeah, it's all up to. That's a big decision whether or not he wants to come back and play and sign up for it. And maybe the last 4 games where they were balling and being everything that we all thought they were going to be for their entirety at the Jets with that offense, maybe that's enough for him to go out and say, yeah, I could still do it if I had to, but I'm good. I played great at the end. I proved people I could still get back from an Achilles injury. We had some success. But in my eyes, there's no way.
What's your gut feel? Is he play next year?
I think he plays next year, yeah. Just strictly because anytime this situation has arose, is that the proper word?
Yeah.
Arose.
Look that one up.
Arose such a clatter, I believe, is from the Santa Claus.
It's when the
right.
reindeer
before
on the roof.
Christmas.
Yeah, right there where he comes down there. Anytime these situations have arose in the past, AJ Hawk, who is very tight with Aaron, goes like, I don't know what else would Aaron? Yes, Aaron's going to play football, is what AJ always says. Even though Aaron has not told AJ, and I think everybody that's around Aaron assumes that like that decision could, that could go very easily both ways. You watch Enigma, and I think, Greeny has and the world has, and you learn a lot about this man, who I think has been misunderstood and misrepresented by a lot of people for a very long time. I think he's a hippie who's super competitive and obviously goes about doing his business how he does it. Everything he does, though, the ayahuasca, the darkness retreat, that is for him to become a better football player. He's trying to work on himself to become the best version of himself, to become a better football player. And obviously, a lot of ridicule comes to him about not being married, not having kids, yada, yada. He's a ball player. This guy literally loves ball. He's an old school football player. Still has the loose strap that he undoes every single time. Getting hurt and still playing is a big deal for him. So, I think a lot of people don't really judge him by who he actually is. They judge him by what they hear about him from other people who don't know him. And with that being said, he is one of the most competitive people on earth. The reason why he loves the NFL is because it's an ability to scratch the competitive itch that he's always going to have for his entire life. I assume, and he won't say this, and he obviously doesn't think this is the case, but when he gets into golf at some point when he retires, he's going to get very, very, very good at golf. He's going to get very locked in at golf because right now he'll play twice a year and he'll end up shooting 73, 74.
Wow.
He's going to be one of those guys he doesn't think this because he is a hippie, plays guitar, does the traveling, likes to do a lot of inner perspective searching and everything like that. That competitive drive that he has he's gonna have to get into something. And he knows that if it's not football, deep down he knows if it's not football, it's gonna be something else. So I think the ability to still play football at the level that he has, with the bad taste in his mouth with how the Jets went, because I think he wanted to bring a parade to New York. I think he took a lot of pride in being the one that was gonna do it. So I think he still has a bad taste in his mouth. I think he plays football again. I don't know where the hell it's going to be. The Giants allegedly.
Are you guys going to be allowed to interview him if he does play? I read something you guys weren't allowed to. That was part of the deal. What do you got there for me?
There's a little ultimatum allegedly from Scooptown that there was an ultimatum made to him that if he wanted to come back and play for the Jets, he was going to have to stop doing our show. And once again, it never ends. It just never ends. And then the GM comes out, that's bullshit. We were moving on regardless. It wasn't like he said we're not doing a show. So who knows? We're cool with whatever. We've been very lucky that we've gotten a chance to chat with them.
We all enjoy those weekly interviews.
Not everybody enjoys it.
Oh.
I don't agree with his opinion. Get him off a microphone. That is how some people operate.
You get some of that?
I've gone on some rides.
So who stays the number 2 seed in the room at getting heat?
I think Connor, pretty good. Connor's pretty good.
Connor, you get some stuff?
Yeah, but I don't see any of it. I can't really read very well.
Yeah, so he just keeps it moving.
Doesn't even matter.
I think Connor probably good at getting heat. Other than that, it's just, we're up here having a conversation, based in reality. Okay, with some jokes in between.
We're just joking.
And also informing.
Yeah.
Which leads to this. Now, let's stick with the NFL. Let's stick with the NFL before we move to other topics. With that being said, there is a man who hosts Everything DB, Good D, Bad D, who has a question about these prospects that you would know more about than us.
Yes.
D-Butt, representing Compton Country Club. Has a question for you.
Yep, gotta ask you because I'm sure you called a bunch of these guys' game, and every year I feel like it's a rookie DB corner that hits the ground running. This past year was Quinyon Mitchell out in Philly, also Cooper DeJean in the slot. Who this year do you think will be that guy? Because we had some great performances at the Combine. Hairston, he flew out of Kentucky. Barron, I feel like he tested much better than I thought he would, and he's played all over the defensive backfield. Will Johnson, a phenomenal corner out of Michigan. Who's that corner, that DB, that you think will hit the ground running and take the NFL by storm this year?
I think it's Jahdae Barron. That would be my guy.
Had a great combine.
Did he? Yeah, I saw he ran well. He did. He worked out, which is fun to see these guys. Some of these guys opt out for obvious reasons. This guy decided to go out and compete. I covered this guy a lot. Probably called over 11 or 12 of his games, and I love to see a guy. And you understand this better than anybody. One year he's out there playing that slot and playing it as well as anybody. And when you say that to people who are fans, when you play the slot, it's not just, okay, he's on the inside. I mean, he's in run support, he's blitzing,
different game,
he's playing in space, he's playing man. I mean, the versatility is off the charts with him. And then, the next year he comes back and he's on the outside. And maybe you can explain in layman's terms how hard that is at the elite college football and NFL level to have the skill set to play both in and out. But he did it flawlessly, and he's got some great intangibles, great leader, captain. So not only the numbers are going to jump out, but he's played in a lot of big games at the highest level. And like I said, the versatility is what makes me think he's got a shot to really step in year one in the NFL and be turnkey.
Yeah, that's really, really, really tough to do, to go from that inside and go outside. And he didn't just go out there and excel. He won the Thorpe Award this year. But yeah, so on the outside, you have that sideline kind of as your friend, but outside of that, you're pretty much one-on-one in an island if you're in any type of man-to-man situation. And when you're in that inside, you got space to your inside, space to your outside, got to communicate with your linebackers, play the run game, just completely different position. I love this guy and everything he's done on the football field as well. He kind of reminds me of like a Malcolm Jenkins. He was a guy that was the top corner in my class when we came out, but you didn't know if he was going to play safety, if he was going to play in the slot.
Right.
And once he got to the NFL, he pretty much did it all. Won a couple of Super Bowls.
You got to be physical
had
too.
the intangibles as well. So I see a lot of similarities with Barron and Malcolm Jenkins.
Herbie, you know this. D-Butt played all over the place, in the box, outside, in the back. That's a mentality thing too. You got to commit to studying. You got to commit to a lot of studying because you got to know a lot of different jobs, and you got to commit to a physicality. That not everybody is able to do at that size.
Communicate too. That's why what Cooper DeJean was able to do, and X and O's wise, he was in the slot corner. You got to be able to communicate with the backers, with the safeties, with the corners, and play fast, man. It's tough in there.
Were they able to understand his language he was speaking out there?
Yeah. Sure.
This guy seems to be speaking a different language. Yeah. What's this guy? Hey, speak.
He was locked in. He was dialed in.
Exciting Whites are quite a duo over there.
Yeah.
They might be the only ones left.
Yeah.
In the secondary after Philadelphia.
Riley Moss.
Other side of Pat.
It's pretty much, you just look at Iowa. They got
all
you can hang the white guys in the secondary. Exactly.
Hold on, they got that white track guy too. He ran a 4.2 or something like that, or 4.1. What was that? At halftime?
Yeah, I don't remember I don't know what he did. I don't think he won a Big Ten championship. So
Kirk Herbstreit saw him and said, "Get that guy off our field. He's too explosive. You can't get that guy in any." Get a first down.
all right, let's just run the ball up the middle 3 times and then punt.
I'll tell you, and if he's out there, you had a real shot against Michigan that year.
I think so, Kirk. I think so.
This guy's now the father of Michigan, man. Never forget it.
Yeah,
you start showing some respect.